topic of conversation for a while. Something seemed to be off with De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
Everyone has slumps. Everyone goes through things. De'Aaron certainly has. But it was Jason that got right to it. He's been playing through pain for more than a month. It's a kind of a combination of being bruised up, also being under the weather, fighting through a sickness there, et cetera, et cetera. So we know that now. De'Aaron hasn't been, let's be clear, De'Aaron hasn't been an embarrassment. He hasn't been a draw on the team. I don't think, although there have been moments where you could argue that other players might have served better with those minutes, it's De'Aaron Fox. He is, if not the leader and best player on the team, the co-leader and best player on the team with Sabonis. And De'Aaron Fox also largely responsible for those win streaks. You don't just say, well, go sit down. Here's Davion Mitchell.
Right.
First question, Jason, is obviously, is there a chance that De'Aaron playing could exacerbate or extend any injuries he has? I have to think that Mike Brown and the training staff didn't, fall off the turnip truck and know how to do their jobs enough to say, okay, this is just, you just got to play through this.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a chance? Sure.
If there's a chance, then
but I don't think that's what's going on.
I don't either.
I think there's a couple things usually that athletic trainers hopefully have full awareness of the player and trust of the player. The player most times is going to tell you they want to play.
Yes.
Most times.
Now,
sometimes you have to save the player from themselves. I don't think that's the situation here because you watch De'Aaron, he's more than functioning. He's just not functioning at a level that we're all used to. If we think about just even statistically, I was looking up some numbers here. He had 6 30-point games early on in the season. 6 of his last 7 games have been under 20 points. And not just points is the difference, but if we've all watched De'Aaron, if he's not the fastest player in the league, he's in the top 3. And I don't think he's getting into the paint as much. I don't think he's applying as much pressure. There's not as much rebound outlet to De'Aaron and just go. I'm just going to win this possession with my speed.
Yes.
We just haven't seen that. And maybe because he can't. So even at whatever percentage he is, I still think De'Aaron's pretty special and pretty terrific. But they're weighing that balance of a player that wants to play, wants to help his team. I don't think he's to the point where he's hurting them.
Right.
But he's at a bar that we've come to expect. He's below that. He's below that standard level that he has set of himself.
So then the next question is it best for the team for him to continue to start and play or for them to shelf him for a while? Somebody brought up earlier on one of the chats, which I thought was interesting, was maybe the Kings should have sat him for the Bucks game. One of those games that you're more likely to lose than anything else, rather than a game where you're either favored to win or it's certainly going to be competitive. I would count both the Cavs and tomorrow's Knicks game on this trip amongst others in there. I guess it's just simply a monitor. And if he's not functioning, it's almost like a corner with a fighter when the fighter's losing and he's not going to win on the scorecards and the puncher's chances out the window. I think if they see him laboring and they're down and significantly down, you give him a chance to kind of calm down and rest up.
Yeah. And again, then it goes to the question is if the athletic training staff said, you know what, if he sat for 2 games and missed 5 days of basketball action, he should be better. Then I think you should do that. But if it's one of those things, it's kind of a lingering thing that may not go away, but you just have to learn how to adjust to it, that you're not going to do any more damage, but it's going to be discomfort. Well, then he goes. And this is the other part of where the organization is and probably where De'Aaron is, the reality of it. So, for example, the champs, the Warriors have chosen to sit games without Steph Curry and Draymond and Clay and Wiggins. Basically likely going to lose. This team has come out and said they want to make the playoffs. I know they're desperate to. I'm sure De'Aaron wants some individual awards and some acknowledgement and some opportunity to play in the All-Star game. The more games you miss, he could be hurting that individually. He also could be hurting your team, with these goals that they have. So they're in a tricky spot there of weighing what is truly better for the team, better for him, and better for this organization.
Well, and speaking of what's better for the team, I think we should also step back and look at this from a peel back the curtain point of view. I'm glad that this is out there. Listen, we have talked about him not looking right for weeks now. That's been no secret in media circles and everywhere else. He just hasn't looked right. The players are very strange. I'll never forget Katie on the sideline asked Bogdan Bogdanovic, 3-4 years ago. It was in the post game and asked him, I think he had a toe injury. And asked him about it, and and it was a really weird, like he kind of sidestepped. No, I'm fine. I don't even think about that. And it turns out he was bothered by that question. No fault of Katie; she was doing her job.
Right.
But players a lot of times don't like to acknowledge or answer questions about injuries because it's a fine line between, hey, public killing me in my mentions. I'm playing my butt off through injury right now. I am not doing well. That's one side. The other side is, hey, Cavs, we're playing you tonight. By the way, I'm not doing too well, and here's my injury. So go ahead and maybe you can move up on me a little bit more than you could. Maybe you can play me a little closer because I don't have that first step like I usually do. You don't, in a game like this, in a league like this, you don't want to give the opponent any edge whatsoever. So I would argue that I'm glad it's out there for De'Aaron's sake, and I think he deserves to have people know that he's playing with a lot of heart right now. From a team point of view, you could argue it's a bad thing that it's out there, and you hope that other teams, there's no real way to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other part that we've kind of asking, what's the better solution? I think this is the one they've chosen. De'Aaron's wanted to play. Coach Brown's comfortable playing him. They haven't seen enough to say you're debilitating yourself and or the team.
Yeah.
We just all want to see him back to that level sooner than later. And if it's not because you could sit out 2 weeks and you'll be fine, then I think you push forward. Which is admirable. Not easy, but admirable.
And you've got tape and you've got scouting and you've got ways to know what's going on either way. And also, by the way, this is a game that gets played all the time in the media. For all we know, De'Aaron feels actually a lot better now, and they're playing possum. They're going to come out and scheme him one way, and he's going to surprise him, like speaking of boxers, like the boxer who pretends like he's hurt and leans on the ropes and comes back with a right hook, and that's fine, although that'll only last for a minute or two before they realize, De'Aaron Fox is back. What really has annoyed me this year, and I don't know how we get over it, because the whole Bagley Doncic thing always going to be there, but now seemingly has died down a little bit because Bagley's gone, and the Kings are doing better. It's the Halliburton Fox thing. That's the new Bagley Doncic, and what really bothered me in the post game, whether it's on social media or just interacting with fans, is I really raised my eyebrow at there's a sect of fans out there that wait until the Kings lose, wait until Fox has a bad game. And then I had my mentions filled with a handful of people that were like, could have used Halliburton right now. And I think that's disingenuous. Where were you during the wins? Where were you when he was playing well? And you wait in the weeds, and you're more, I think there's literally, I honest to God believe they'd never admit it. There are Kings fans out there that are truly rooting for Tyrese Halliburton to win an MVP and for Domantas Sabonis to leave, because they've invested so much into what they think is going to happen and what they determined would happen when the trade was made, that now for that to come to fruition, that would give them an I told you so, which would basically be picking narrative over what's best for the team.
Yeah. I
can fully acknowledge that the Tyrese Halliburton trade may go down as a bad trade for the Kings. I can fully acknowledge that. But to root for it, to come out of the weeds and
fan.
You're doing it. I told you so. When they're 4 games over 500, they have a better record than the Pacers. The guy's playing hurt.
No thanks.
I've criticized De'Aaron Fox quite a bit. I'm not going to criticize a guy for playing through pain and playing hurt. And by the way, if it gets to a point where it's detrimental to the team, that's on Mike Brown.
Yeah, exactly.
That's on Mike Brown. That's
and De'Aaron too, a little bit.
De'Aaron a little bit, but can you fault the player?
No, but hopefully there's some awareness there. But you're right.
No,